welcome back to another week with a glorious show. With me, the great Luigi, my co-host. Hello, Luigi. How have you been?
Arriba! Very well, sir. It's been a huge week in the news.
News keep happening.
So much material to go through. Very happy about that.
We always got too much material to go through.
Too much stupidity to go unnoticed, not to make fun of.
Notice it, we must. And since we've discussed this, I'm gonna make up to the last 3 episodes, I'm gonna make a running segment with the BBC and its beautiful impartiality.
The big British. I'm gonna leave it there.
I was ready to go with it. Yeah. Maybe you are right.
All right.
No, we're not talking about the.
We're talking about the
British Broadcasting
channel.
Corporation.
Yes.
The British Broadcasting. Nothing
it's
like
not a corporation, really.
Whatever the fuck. I mean,
it's an organization.
I've got a tiny article. It's an opinion editorial by a guy named Roger Harabin. Don't know the guy, won't even bother. But I'm going to read you the first few paragraphs, and you're going to tell me what you make out of it. What you make out of this.
But I want you to paraphrase it, and I want you to imagine me as being a young kangaroo that doesn't really understand words.
A young marsupial with limited grasp of human communications.
That's exactly it.
Yeah. You're going to get it. The title is Stop Kicking the BBC on Bias. A right turn was needed, but now it's gone too far. All right. I mean, let's move on into the subject.
The juices of the story.
Yeah. And then we've got a subheading. The corporation was left-leaning, but now it is terrified from attacks from the right. And we start with the story, Luigi. Criticism ebbs and flows at the BBC, and then suddenly engulfs the corporation in waves, blah, blah, blah. Typically, the hardest kicks can come from figures on the political right, complaining that the BBC is left-wing. 35 years ago, when I joined the corporation, they would have had a much stronger case. Back then, the default framing for much of the news agenda was indeed set up by The Guardian. Bullshit. There was no shame in spouting what may have been described as Guardianesque views. Right-wingers were regarded as a curiosity. This is the second paragraph. The BBC found it hard to recruit them. Still, even then, a few influential Tory supporters strode the corridors of Broadcasting House. I remember, on the verge of an election, we're talking about, this is the second paragraph, and he started the whole thing by telling us that it was too left-wing, the BBC, right? That the agenda was set by the Guardian.
But there were shades. There were shades of
right-wingness. This is the second paragraph. Still, even then, a few influential Tory supporters strode the corridors of Broadcasting House. I remember, on the verge of an election, one conservative-leaning editor boosted the incumbent government by broadcasting a ludicrously optimistic economic forecast. These are all his words. It was an outrageous moment of scheduling, and when the Tories were re-elected, he openly triumphed, we did it. Okay? And then we go, but if the predominant BBC bias in those days was inarguably anti-conservative, there was later a massive shift, partly, and I'm like, my dude, you gave me an example of the BBC openly boosting and re-electing a Tory and then triumphantly exclaiming that we did it. The only anecdote this guy can provide to convince me that the BBC was inarguably anti-conservative was the most pro-conservative anecdote I could ever read. Do you think we are total fucking idiots? What is this? What is this, Luigi?
We are descending into the realm of the bizarre, my dear friend.
Luigi, isn't that bizarre? I mean, we re-elected the Tory guy. We put our thumb on the election and got those guys elected. But we were anti those guys, obviously. It was so obvious. It was basically the Guardian masquerading as the BBC.
Yeah.
I've never seen a worse editorial in my life.
I actually have several of them scheduled for the remainder of the show. So foreshadowing.
It is incredible what this guy is trying to convince us of by using arguments that point directly at the other direction. It is incredible. His mind must be a beautiful fall of neurons.
I remember as a young lad walking through the hallways of broadcasting station.
Everybody was a Guardianista trying to elect the Tories. It was so left-wing. We got the Tories re-elected. Fuck yeah.
It was so left-wing. You got free healthcare just walking the halls. Yeah,
so that's one of the few things they've got, although it's collapsing.
It's collapsing because it's been defunded by the Tories
No,
for
Luigi,
a decade and a
no.
half.
Please. It's collapsing because the BBC is too left-wing.
For anyone not familiar with what we are referring to is the state of the National Health Service in Britain, which used to be the jewel of the country, some might argue.
I would say that 10 years ago, if I remember studies, it was top 2 in the world.
And suddenly it's going downhill quickly.
It's been defunded to shit, as explained. Because when you elect Tories, right-wing troglodytes for more than a decade, this is what happens.
We've never seen a tax cut we didn't like, and we've never seen a healthcare cut we didn't like. That's the philosophy.
Yeah.
You got sick, that's your problem. Fuck you.
Fuck you, I can pay private. All the innovation, Luigi, it's the innovation. Let's innovate while people fucking die on our streets.
It's the queues. It's the queues that are the
problem.
It's
the queues that does.
By the way, I saw a wonderful chart, and it was from the Financial Times of all places, that showed NHS waiting times by government, and you can clearly see that every time there's a Labour government, wait times go down, and every time there's a Conservative government, queue times go up, and we've been going up for a decade and a half, more or less now. So,
as far as I'm concerned, there is literally zero negative percent reasons to vote for any Conservative government. I mean, you can, even the liberals will provide you with something, but the Conservatives will provide you with fuck all, sprinkle with a dose of nationalism.
Here's the problem, I think, for the UK specifically. The messengers from the left, so Corbyn and right now, my God, what's his face? Sir Keir Starmer.
They're very different, though.
They are very different, but both of them have been the wrong messengers for the message of the left wing. So Corbyn tried to go overly to the left. Maybe he alienated a good part of the center of the country.
Possibly, and we could make an argument because socially, economically, there's a lot of ways to think about it. Yeah, if you're arguing that he went too left wing socially or economically,
and I'm arguing that,
or a little bit of both.
I'm arguing that Corbyn went too far left economically, and Keir Starmer
not socially though.
Not socially, but Keir Starmer tried to learn from those mistakes. And he went too far to the center, to the point where he's just, like there's nothing there. There's no message. It's just like, well, whichever way the wind is blowing, I support good things. I am for good things and against bad things.
My personal opinion is he's too similar to Sunak. He's too similar.
It's not even Sunak. He's trying to channel his inner Tony Blair. And I mean...
And when you try and channel war criminals, I mean, it's not the best of ideas.
I mean, I understand why he's doing it, because the last time Labour was in power was with Tony Blair, and Tony Blair was so middle and a right honourable gentleman and all that kind of stuff. But... it's not a winning message. And for better or worse, the Tories have much better messengers. Look at Boris Johnson. I mean, the guy's a clown, but he's an entertaining kind of clown. He's a clown you can have a beer with and, have a joke. And it's more relatable to people.
The situation got a bit muddled because we had Brexit in there as well, and because of that, it's harder to analyze how popular.
And Labour never had a call. I mean, they were anti-Brexit, and at some point was Brexit means Brexit, and Brexit, and was a hot giant pile of shit. I mean, at some point.
Yeah, you understand it though, because they were dealing with a situation that was a hot pile of turd. But obviously, you need to show leadership. 100%. I mean, you're going to be against Brexit or pro-Brexit. You can't be in between.
Exactly. And stick with that. Don't change.
And because of Brexit, I can't give a super clear analysis in terms of the economic message and how that was felt, because you had fucking Brexit in there as well. By what you said, I mean, economically wise, the policies, Corbyn was very to the left, while Starmer is dead on in the center, I guess. I mean, who knows? He changes his policies, Starmer, so I'm not certain where we're going to land.
He's a bit, that's the point. That's the whole criticism.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. I think the only reason that the Labour is still, I don't know, 17, 20 points ahead is because the Tories are just so fucking incompetently, heinously fucking bad. It's all to do with the Tories. It's nothing to do with Labour. I don't think the average voter really trusts Labour.
Nah, man, I'll push back on that because maybe the Tories, maybe they've been able to win elections, but part of the reason they've been able to win so many is because there's been no coherent alternative to them. You've never had someone that is slightly to the left, slightly I'm going to look after healthcare, education, infrastructure, the basic kind of stuff that the Tories aren't doing, and I won't be for the corporations. I mean, Keir Starmer, he doesn't inspire anything for me, honestly. It saddens me.
He's very uncharismatic.
And it saddens me to say that because, I mean, he could be a decent leader, but I don't think he's going to get there because of that stance.
I'm not certain about Starmer because he doesn't seem to have any deeply held convictions. I struggle to see him as a good leader. He will 100% be a better leader than what the fuck the Tories are doing. But anyway, let's move on. Let's move on
away from the kingdom that is not united.
Still barely united. Let's move on. Trump had a speech at Waco last Saturday. I think it was Saturday. And he continued to invoke retribution and violence, as you do. In his first rally of his 2024 election campaign. Still not indicted.
Every man walking the streets freely.
Still free. He warned that there will be obviously potential death and destruction if he's eventually charged. I love the way that...
Fire, fury, death, distraction. Very bad words.
Because it's like what you did on January 6th was so bad. If you touch me, I'm gonna January 6th you again. Well, what an excellent guy. By the way, there was some funny shit he threw against DeSantis during the speech, which is funny.
Ron the Stinky.
He's so stinky. He went to repeat his claim that DeSantis had begged for Trump's endorsement with tears in his eyes when he was running for governor. I did rallies for Ron. They were massive rallies. And he came to me, tears in his eyes, and he begged. He begged, please endorse me, and I'll become the governor.
Please, Donald, I'll suck your nutsack, Donald. Please, Donald.
He told
whatever it takes.
Please, sir, please let me lick your testicles. They're so nice. They're like huge chicken nuggets. Very nice. So orange. So beautiful. Glorious. And I said, okay, Ron, you can do it. I'm going to nominate you. You can suck my balls.
And that is an actual transcript of a conversation, people, between
he's
the two leaders.
It's amazing. It's amazing how berserk is going on him. And the other guy has been completely cacked, Luigi. I mean, 2-3 months ago, we thought there was going to be a fight. There's not going to be a fight, Luigi. I doubt he's even going to run at this point, Ron DeSantis.
I think he runs, but man, honestly, there's nobody like Trump on the debate stage or, just making fun of someone. Trump has that comedic element. He knows how to,
he's a mean dude. He's a mean
facial
bitch.
expressions.
He's a mean bitch. That's what he is.
No, it goes beyond that. I mean, honestly, the guy knows how to do television, and it really shows. Like it's part humor.
I think it's the Goldilocks level of an IQ. It's really low, but he's got such confidence. It comes out so funny. I've never seen it before. I've never seen this before, guys.
I mean, we haven't had a television reality TV star running for president before.
Yeah, and what a star. The best star, obviously.
Well, what are we doing next? The Kardashians?
That could be interesting as well.
That could be interesting.
And something else, but before we derail completely, DeSantis, you saw that
derailing.
You saw that interview he had with Piers Morgan where Piers was like, which nickname do you like that Don is giving you? Which one of those derogatory names
do you like prefer? Meatball Ron?
Which one do you prefer, Beta Man? Which one do you like? Which one encompasses how fucking shit you are? And it was like, I like sanctimonious, but I don't really know what it means. And I'm
Well,
like,
to be honest with you, I'm not even sure what it means exactly.
give me a break, you stupid fuck. How stupid do you think your listeners are? That's what I was like, Jesus Christ, the guy went to Harvard and Yale and he's trying to convince me that it can't fucking spell sanctimonious. Jesus Christ, right?
100% I was.
They're so fake, aren't they?
But
They are
complicated
so-
words. Oh,
Yeah.
long words complicate my tiny brain. Oh, how do you spell that?
And it showcases, Luigi, what they think about their voters, which is the most fucking horrifying of all things.
To be honest, if they were like logical, rational, articulate people, they wouldn't have that following. So maybe they are right to play to their audience.
Yeah. It's so sad, though. It's so sad that it's time. Around the sanctimonious. Excellent stuff. Anyway, should we move on?
Of course. Let's keep rolling.
Let's go to Mr. TikTok.
Mr. TikTok, the Singaporean American running TikTok.
The chief executive of TikTok, Shu Zi Chu.
TikTok America.
Fair enough. He was forced to defend his company's relationship with China, as well as the protections for its youngest users at a testy congressional hearing on Thursday that came amid a bipartisan push to ban the app entirely in the US over national security concerns. And they basically
USA.
They brought him for a hearing, basically. His first ever appearance before US lawmakers. The chief executive, the 40-year-old Chu, who is from Singapore, yes, had remained largely out of the limelight as the social. About half of the United States uses TikTok at this point.
Let me summarize what happened. So both Republicans and Democrats, we should say.
A rare moment of bipartisanship.
Very rare. Or only on the anti-China stuff is the American political system united. But the conversation in Congress went a little bit like this. Oh, you collect data on everyone, on every American, right? Yes, we do. But you share them with the Chinese Communist Party, right?
No, we don't.
No. But you could share them with the Chinese Communist Party if the Chinese Communist Party asks you to, right?
They haven't asked.
they haven't asked and we haven't done that. But you could do it in the future. Ban TikTok.
I mean, the planet could implode in the future. Who knows? Yeah. I saw some more interesting conversations on that. I think you're talking about the most serious aspects of the hearing. I was like, Mr. Chu, can TikTok connect to my Wi-Fi? And like, if you want to access the internet, fucking troglodyte, maybe it might connect to your Wi-Fi. Mr. TikTok man, does it connect to my shower? Are the communists looking at my willy while I'm
Mr. TikTok man.
Mr. TikTok man. Are you a communist? Mr. TikTok man? Half of it was fucking, it showcased how fucking inept these people are to question, to actually run this line of inquiries.
But obviously, I mean, half of Congress
it's so
is above
though.
The age of 80.
These fuckers are incompetent. What are they asking him? Are going to connect to the internet? It's ridiculous. It is a travesty of our democracy.
Here's what it boils down to, really. The US is going to ban TikTok. I mean, I think the probability is 100%, but it's not really banning TikTok. They're basically going to force the American TikTok version to be a different thing. To detach itself from China, from the Communist Party, 100%. Otherwise, you won't be able to operate in the US.
Which is similar to what China does.
Exactly. That's exactly the same thing to what China did to Facebook, for example.
Every Western company, yeah. And I think they're going to name that thing Project Texas, which is an effort to move all US data to domestic servers. I think that's the direction they're going. I think as well, they're going to separate the two companies.
They're going to ring fence them. And another criticism that I've seen, most from Republicans, I don't know if it's really true though, is that, essentially the app functions in different ways in the sense of the content it shows in China and the US.
That is true.
In the US, Republicans argue it shows, youth, especially trashier stuff, like stuff about...
this I have no clue, Luigi. But it's definitely the Chinese version of TikTok. It's very different from the international version of TikTok.
Yeah, and from my understanding, the Chinese version of TikTok tries to promote, especially to kids, sort of more noble kind of causes, like become an astronaut.
I get what you're saying. Yeah, I have no research on that. I haven't read anything.
Me neither. That's why I said it's a criticism I've seen thrown around that I don't know the validity.
Yeah, well, when Luigi says by the Republicans, it should
It should be
stimulate
automatic.
the appropriate level of skepticism when you're like, oh yeah, question mark. did the Titan say it? Mr. TikTok man, why are you telling our white kids that they are guilty?
The acid test for the Republicans is what happened on January 6th. A peaceful protest. It's a peaceful protest.
it was so peaceful. Josh Hawley was running for his fucking life. Just running for his life in a fucking suit.
And speaking of the Republicans, I've got major breaking news.
What happened?
Our evil turtle, the one, the only, Mitch McConnell. Mitch. Yeah,
the turtle marches on.
He suffered a concussion and he has been transported back home. And it's a sad day for humanity.
He probably fell in a lobbyist meeting in a hotel in Washington, D.C.
I thought he tripped over. I thought he tripped over another turtle.
Oh yeah, but it was probably. It was the turtle lobby. It was the turtle lobby.
The turtle lobby.
It's the careta lobby.
All right. So what else do we have?
We wish him obviously a gracious recovery, a speedy recovery.
Not so. I mean,
if it takes a while, take your time. Nobody's gonna miss you. Really.
Yeah, and I mean, the more you rest, the better it is. The more the political system heals as well. I mean, it's a win-win.
Although, have you seen the replacements? Jesus Christ!
Yeah,
it gets worse and worse.
Look, honestly, like Mitch is as bought and paid for as you can get.
As anybody. It's a career, dude. We're not gonna fucking throw shit at the apex of what this deep shit has achieved being corrupt.
Are there younger people?
There's hungry people out there who are ambitious.
Who are of lower intelligence and are also bought and paid for? Yes, there are.
And excellent. And you've phrased it so well together. Because these are nuances of shit that you have to be very, very academically inclined to be able to separate. Because there's so much shit, but you got to be able to look into it, and make these very valid statements, Luigi,
Can definitely get worse.
Definitely. And let's go to Israel because this is a beautiful segue it can definitely get worse. And thousands.
It got worse.
it's getting very, very bad.
Massive
Thousands have protested. There's a general strike today. This has come after we've discussed this a few episodes ago. Netanyahu's attended his far-right coalition's proposals
becoming Caesar.
Basically neutering completely the judiciary. And by neutering, I mean you can now override any Supreme Court ruling with a majority vote in parliament. And you also appoint the judges. So, you're basically taking over the judicial sector.
You check the balances.
Yeah, you're the balances.
Instead of checks and balances, I check the balances.
and there's been surprising.
I balance the checks.
There's been a big backlash in Israel because of this. After the dramatic night of protest, after Netanyahu yesterday,
he fired his defense minister.
He sacked his defense minister. He was the first guy in cabinet to actually call for the legislation to be halted. He fired him immediately.
As you do. You are either with us or you are fired.
It's been reported that he's going to hold the legislation. He's going to have a speech in 45 minutes, actually. And it's expected that he will hold the legislation because the protests have been unprecedented. The sacking appears to have crossed the red line, even as Israel was already grappling with a president General Hival.
By the way, to give people some background, Israel has held 5 elections in 2 years, most of them in an attempt to oust Netanyahu. There was even a coalition government at some point that encompassed the entire political spectrum except for Netanyahu. That didn't hold for very long, and Benji's back in. And
with a far-right coalition at this point.
And it's paying dividends. It's paying dividends so far.
Proponents of the changes introduced almost immediately after the new government entered office primaries in December say they are needed to balance bullshit. Yeah, critics say they will erase democratic norms, handing politicians too much power over the judiciary by allowing a simple majority in the Knesset, that's the parliament in Israel, to overrule almost all of the court's decisions and giving politicians a decisive say on appointments on the bench. It has also been pointed out, Luigi, that the move could help Netanyahu evade prosecution in his corruption trial. Beautiful democracy,
that's what I went
vibrant,
to say.
vibrant.
That's what I went to say earlier. Like the fact that politicians appoint the judges already presents a bias for that judge to be sort of in favor, but with plausible deniability, to be in favor of that politician or that political wing, let's say. But when you can also overrule
this
the
is
judges,
ridiculous, right? But he's going to halt the legislation because the response, the backlash has been unprecedented. But he's not gonna get rid of it. He's freezing it. He's trying to wiggle his way around with this one. Everyone has been very critical with the United States, Europe, etc. He has suspended the bill, but not abandoned it. And how do we get there? And of course, an interesting article about that as well, that there have been far-right American Jews that are financing this, who are major Jewish players here in America that are coming from the American far-right, who are deeply involved in pushing this reform. The Libertarian Kohelet Policy Forum, the architect of the judicial reforms that have prompted unprecedented mass protests by Israelis who say they are a threat to democracy. The Kohelet Forum, which is the main ultra-conservative think tank that designed this judiciary reform, is fully supported by the leading Jewish donors of the American ultra-conservative camp. The Israeli newspaper Haaretz revealed 2 years ago that the organization is partly funded by two Jewish American billionaires, Arthur Danchik and Jeffrey Yass, who made their fortunes as founders of a global financial firm, including by investing in the invention of TikTok. Ooh, TikTok shout-out. What have funded right-wing causes?
That should have been the segue. Right? Yeah. It's a very small world.
Both have funded right-wing causes. The Kohelet Policy Forum was founded in 2012. Anyway, they've showered millions and millions of money for this. American donors have given tens of millions of dollars.
But what's the play, though? What's the angle?
They're the ones who wrote the judicial reform.
Yeah, but if I'm an American Jewish billionaire,
far right, finance dipshit billionaire.
Yeah. What's the angle, though? What am I trying to achieve? Just make Israel more authoritarian?
Yeah. And they've also financed, by the way, less welfare, less education. Less
everything.
Less everything.
Vote for me.
Less everything good, which is literally why they're doing this. I don't know, man. What you brought out is very interesting.
No, but I mean,
why would you want to?
There has to be a financial angle. It's always follow the money. It's always somebody always makes money.
Well, I mean, for Bibi, I mean, there's the nationalist angle as well, the ethno-nationalist angle.
Sure, and that would make sense if they were just Jewish billionaires living in Israel. But why are they American? Like, what's the American angle?
There's got to be evangelicals involved as well, and they've got the crazy theories about the second coming of Jesus, so there's that as well. The insidiousness of far-right forces, with a lot of money, and it's almost incomprehensible to understand why they're pushing for this. It's
always the right that has the money, George, because the left, by definition, gives away the money.
100%. Yass and Tachnik have also been influential to their ties to leading Republicans in shifting U.S. policy on Israel, including in providing the Trump administration with legal justifications for recognition of settlements in the occupied territories. The moves to weaken the Israeli Supreme Court are also influenced by another U.S. organization led by Elliot Abrams, a neoconservative former senior official under several Republican presidents who played an important role in the U.S.'s bloody involvement in Central America in the 80s and one of the intellectual architects of the invasion of Iraq 20 years ago.
Several intellectual architects.
Several titans of intellect who have already spread such peace and such harmony around the world.
Juggernauts of tranquility.
Exactly. Even Miriam Adelson, you remember Sheldon Adelson, he died a few years ago. The casino mogul, he used to finance a lot of far-right in Israel. But even she's against this. Even she has criticized this, which is interesting. And it's, I mean, at this point, Luigi, the Israeli finance minister, a far-right troglodyte, has called for Israel to wipe out Palestinian towns. He has said that there is no such thing as a Palestinian peoples, which is dramatically
It's not
bad.
a uniting message. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
It's not exactly what you tell the other side when you're trying to woo them in.
And present yourself as a bastion of whatever the fuck that is supposed to be civilized. Not good, man. No, not good. And I don't like at all that he's gonna freeze it, because he's gonna try and pass it 100%. It's just a delay.
Yeah. He's gonna pass it. The fact that he's committed so much political capital to this. This is going to be Bibi's final act.
And I'm guessing Bibi has a personal motive for this. Bibi himself, because he's one of the most corrupt politicians allegedly who have ever graced this world.
Allegedly.
I said it. Sorry.
I felt the need to repeat it.
So he's got a personal motive for this. But good for even the minor victories are good, and good for them that they've protested enough to at least halt this development. Because if this passes, I have scant hope that Israel will remain a democracy. Even whatever, barely, even a very, very troubled democracy such as it is now.
And people have to understand, it's not necessarily about what Bibi Netanyahu will do with this law. It's about the next guy and then guy after that. Once you establish something, once you concentrate power so
to one
heavily.
person. Yeah, exactly. You got rid of the judiciary essentially with this. Which is a move many wannabe autocrats have pulled off lately.
Very many strong men. Exceptionally strong men.
So strong. And that's what I wanted. But another point to make is the excessive power that moneyed interests have. Finance bros with a lot of money that they don't know how to use, because you've seen the way they use it. Peter Thiel is another one of those troglodytes in the United States. One of the most horrifying people you've ever had.
My issue is, you make money in finance and suddenly you start, 20 years later, you start to sponsor politicians.
And we're talking about you make shitloads of money, people. If these guys were first investors in TikTok, we're talking about shitloads of money.
But the issue is, if you truly believe in democracy, the fact that one person can spend $1 billion and have his or her voice heard
more than all of the rest of us combined.
More than everyone else combined. That's a huge problem. So what I'm digging at is the U.S.
Supreme Court elections, figure something out.
The U.S. Supreme Court decision, Citizens United, essentially said that
has destroyed the nation.
That money is essentially free speech. Spending money to elect someone is essentially
there's some rudimentary conditions that super PACs should directly communicate with the campaign. But this is all bullshit. They're spending billions and they're spending millions and billions. The last election was in the billions. But dark money as well. We can't find out who's spending it. We know the two forums, as I've discussed with the far-right American Jewish people, but we don't know which American donor has given, because this is completely opaque. And it's a ridiculous situation. And it's not even just Citizens United, unfortunately, Luigi. I remember the last case. I remember what it was. United States.
I'm old enough to remember.
I'm not old enough. I forgot it. I forgot which one it was. But even before Citizens United, the precedent set by the last case wasn't really good. But Citizens United just buried it.
100%. Money in politics did not appear after Citizens United, but Citizens United made it way worse.
And the Supreme Court had already made a really bad decision even before the Citizens United one. And the problem is that, the Supreme Court has been infested with right-wingers for a long time in the United States.
For decades.
Basically. Roosevelt had a whole war with them.
How did that work out?
Roosevelt won.
All right.
He threatened them. He threatened them, people, with packing the courts if they touched his New Deal, and they didn't. But by then, Luigi, Roosevelt was so popular that he controlled the fucking Congress by that point.
He could do.
Everybody in Congress was with him, and the majority. Obviously.
So from massive protests in Israel to not so massive but still pretty big protests in Germany. there's been some scheduled sort of protests in Germany, organized by unions, protesting, you guessed it, the soaring cost of living and the fact that just like every other country in Europe at least, everybody's trying to give employers 5% pay increases in a 10% inflation environment. Yeah. So almost in every country, employees, regular people are asked to get a 5% real wage cut. At the same time, though, George, what I find funny is corporate profits must be protected. So corporate profits are at all-time highs. Margins are at all-time highs. Businesses are doing, I'm talking about big businesses,
obviously. Yeah, we have to make that distinction because that's the distinction that the conservatives always model.
Mm-hmm. Precisely. So I honestly don't understand why every time the adjustment process has to, every single time it's labor that must shoulder the burden, because God forbid you make life difficult by 1 iota for the corporations. My God, they're going to stop hiring. They're going to stop investing.
The innovation
will stop. The AI will go on protest. So I don't know. It's a global thing, unfortunately. Not most countries, every country. I don't know a single country where employees have taken a salary increase that matches inflation. So it's a global problem, obviously.
For the majority of the employees, no doubt. Yeah.
But the issue is there's been a lot of studies lately. So, for example, from the Federal Reserve, the American Central Bank, and they basically argue that if you break inflation down, around 30% of it comes from wages, right? And another 40% of it comes from increases in corporate profits.
And then we've got the costs as well.
Yeah, and then you've got the supply chains. Yeah, the rest of it. But my issue is, what are we doing to address the situation? Okay, labor is being asked to take a wage cut. That's fine.
Labor always is being asked to take a deal to up its ass, yeah.
What's the central bank doing? Oh, we're raising interest rates. What's that going to do? Ultimately, it's going to hurt employment.
They're trying to cause a depression, to be honest, yeah.
It's not what they're doing. They're trying to extinguish inflation. But what I'm saying is the process of adjustment.
Yeah, what I was trying to make a point was that when I say they're trying to cause a recession, they're trying to decrease consumer demand. That's what they're trying to do, yeah?
Yeah.
Which is basically trying to fuck the workers over.
Yeah.
Because the workers rightly respond by experiencing a 10% price hike. They respond by wanting better wages.
Yeah. If prices go up 10%, I want my wage to rise at least 10%. Otherwise, I'm worse off than I was last year. Ultimately, though, my problem is the following. We are trying to do the adjustment, right? Bringing inflation down is a painful process. Everybody understands that. Why is the process of adjustment, the suffering of the adjustment, always entirely on labor? Labor has to get the wage cut. Labor has to suffer the job losses.
To the degree that they don't even discuss other options. Exactly. As if they don't even exist, yeah.
Exactly. Because God forbid you try to touch businesses in any way, shape, or form.
Who are making record profits.
Yeah. So that's my rant, man. I don't have any amazing solutions for it, but what I know is it would be faster and more just for all of society if businesses had to deal with some costs as well. Now, some conservative might tell you something like, yeah, businesses, higher borrowing costs and all that kind of shit, but it's not the same thing, man. My cost of borrowing going up and my wages getting cut are not the same thing.
Not remotely the same thing, yeah.
Yeah, corporate profits will almost certainly come down as well, but they're coming down from record levels. So if you're thinking about it from the point of view of who can withstand a little bit more pain, it's probably not the workers, man.
It's the ones with the broader shoulders. Yeah. Unfortunately, as we've seen with far-right American Jews financing whatever the fuck is happening in Israel, we have allowed them far too much free rein because we've been doing this neoliberal shit since the 70s. With the coming of Reagan and Thatcher.
God bless Ronald, the first of his name.
Yes.
And then it was Donald.
And Maggie, the bitch. And with the coming of the great titans of neoliberal thought, we have given far too much free rein on moneyed interests. And at this point, they want everything. They want everything. They're pushing too much. And they're going to take everything unless we push back. French style.
Honestly, like what businesses are offering or what they're putting on the negotiating table, I find it to be such peanuts that it's almost
It is a joke.
insulting. I
It is
mean,
a joke.
5% wage increase over 27 months when inflation is 9.3% every 12 months.
And then you remember, I mean, we've had decades of stagnant real wage growth. I mean, it's been a mess. It's been a mess. And to elect the people who have brought you this mess is suicide at this point.
And it's getting worse. I mean, honestly, this process reaches a breaking point. I don't know when, but as standards of living fall, and
shit will get very bad.
And people used to know a better way of life, and suddenly it's getting worse. They're not gonna sit there and I mean, I'm not prognosticating. I'm not, this is not an incitement of anything, but
we're not
easy
Team
to see
Pool,
that,
guys. We're not Team Pool. We don't want a civil war.
It's easy to see, though, how anger builds up over time because people are just they're living worse and shorter lives.
Yeah.
Shorter mostly for our American audience.
Which is insulting, isn't it?
Doing the healthcare thing.
It is insulting to expect a lower life expectancy. I mean, at that point, you realize the gig is up. This is not working. This is not working anymore. What Bernie says, enough is enough. Enough is enough is enough. The oligarchs have too much. Enough.
It's so funny, and let's maybe end it on this. A few years ago, back in 2016, when you had the rise of the extremes, and it was Bernie Sanders and then Donald Trump and so on, I used to think we were at an inflection point. At an inflection point 100%. In the sense of we've spent 4 decades against the worker and for business, and that process reached its turning point, and we bottomed and things would be getting better, but things are actually still getting worse.
They are, but I mean, we have noted that there's been a direction in the Democratic Party. I mean, Biden has shifted, in rhetoric, and that is still a change in direction, but it's too slow, and we have gone too far. And I fear as well, that is just, what did I say, like plasters on walls at this point, and the building is collapsing. So it's not enough, it's not nearly enough.
It reminds me of that, what is it, Monty Python meme? "'Tis but a flesh wound."
"It is but a flesh wound, sir." It's not a flesh wound, his fucking arms are apart, yeah. Let's leave it on that beautiful note.
"'Tis not a flesh wound."
Humanity is collapsing. Terror will reign on our streets.
Buy our survival gear.
That's how you do it. That's how Alex does it. Buy our survival gear. Nutrigenics. Put it on your peanuts. You're going to survive everything.
Eat your tuna.
Filled with mercury these days, full of mercury. Everything has gone to shit. We have dumped so much fucking shit in our waters that, it's a beautiful time to be alive, folks. It's a beautiful time. Excellent way to end the show.
Nice. Thank you to everybody for making it until the end with us. George, as always, a pleasure, sir.
A pleasure, Luigi. Thank you, everyone. We love you. Bye-bye.
Sayonara.